My family mocked my 3-year-old with a broken dollar store doll on Christmas morning, then reached for their gifts. Hey, I'm David, I'm 36, and last Christmas, my family made one thing painfully clear: they never actually respected me. How do I know? Because they handed my 3-year-old daughter, Mila, a dollar store doll missing a leg, and then laughed. Let me back up. Christmas morning started early. It was snowing, but not the pretty kind. Wet, slushy snow that turns to ice the second it hits pavement. Still, Mila was excited. She wore the glittery purple dress she picked out weeks ago, and white boots with fur lining that made her wobble like a baby deer. She even insisted on bringing the reindeer ornament she made in preschool. Said she wanted to hang it on Grandma's tree herself. We got to my parents' house around 9 a.m. My sister's luxury SUV was already parked out front, engine still warm. I could hear laughter inside, the loud, show-offy kind. Sure enough, through the living room window, I saw her boys zooming up and down the driveway on brand new e-bikes. One neon blue, the other bright orange. The kind that cost more than my rent in college. One of them shouted, "Santa knew I was the best this year." My mom filmed like she was getting paid for it. Mila looked up at me, confused. "Where's mine, Daddy?" I smiled. Lied. "Santa leaves surprises inside too, sweetheart." Inside, the house looked like a catalog. Designer wreaths, real pine garland, perfectly wrapped gifts stacked by name. My sister's kids had towers. My parents had armfuls. There wasn't a single box for Mila. Not one. I'd sent my mom $500 back in early December. Told her work was hectic and asked if she could help get Mila a couple things. She said, "Of course. I know exactly what she'd love." Apparently that translated to absolutely nothing. Then, after everyone else had unwrapped gift after gift, my mom casually walked to the sideboard and pulled out a tiny, crushed box like it was an afterthought. She handed it to Mila with a smile I instantly recognized. Fake. The wrapping paper was reused. Mila unwrapped it slowly. It was a cheap plastic doll. No box, no shoes, and one leg was missing. She blinked. Stared at it like she didn't understand what it was. Then my mother said loud enough for the whole room to hear, "Well, that's what happens when your dad lets everyone down." My sister laughed. Her kids laughed too, because cruelty always got applause in that house. I didn't cry. Mila didn't either. We just stood up quietly. And what nobody realized yet was that all their gifts were still in my trunk. I hadn't brought anything inside yet. Not the wrapped packages. Not the bags with their names. Not the gifts I spent hours picking out because, despite everything, I thought maybe, just maybe, this year would be different. My car was parked a few houses down, around the corner. I did it on purpose. I didn't want anything getting stolen, but more than that, I didn't want the trunk full of gifts being the first thing they noticed. Back in November, I asked them what they wanted. I always did. My mom sent a list with links. My sister forwarded a whole spreadsheet with sizes and preferences for her boys. My dad just said, "Something practical." I didn't ask them for anything in return. That's the funny part. They all seemed to forget that I'd been covering their Christmases for years. Quietly. I paid for the wine, the centerpieces, the matching pajama sets for those candid family photos. I paid for things they didn't even know I paid for. But this year was different. They didn't just overlook my kid. They used her to send a message. I told Mila we were going to go outside for a moment. I wrapped her coat around her, held her hand, and we walked back to the car through icy wind and slush. She asked, "Am I bad, Daddy?" That stopped me cold. I knelt beside her in the snow and told her the truth. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. And you didn't do anything wrong." She nodded. Quietly. Like she wasn't sure if she should believe it. That's when I knew. I wasn't going to let this slide. Not again. I popped the trunk. Inside were 2 massive black duffel bags packed with gifts. Designer perfume for my mom. A brand new drone for my nephew. Noise-canceling headphones and a Kindle for my dad. Custom jackets for the whole family. Even a signed jersey for my sister's husband from his favorite player. Took me weeks to find. All of it paid for with the same money they now pretended I didn't have. The same salary they joked wasn't real work, because I did it from home. I carried the bags back inside. The room went silent when I walked in. My mom's eyes lit up. My sister stood, actually reaching toward the tree like she was about to grab one of the boxes before I even set them down. And that's when I said it. "You won't be getting these." At first they thought I was joking. Then they saw my face. My sister let out this awkward little laugh, like she thought I'd cave if she played it casual. "Come on, David, don't be dramatic," she said, hands still hovering near the gifts. I didn't move. Just looked her dead in the eye. "You humiliated my daughter. In front of everyone. And now you want presents?" My mom chimed in, voice sharp. "Let's not ruin Christmas, okay? She's 3, she won't even remember this." And that, right there, was the line that snapped something in me. I took a slow breath, placed the bags gently on the floor by the door, then zipped both of them shut. "Yeah," I said. "Let's not ruin it. Which is why Mila and I are leaving." My dad finally stood up from his recliner, the one he hadn't moved from all morning. He said nothing. Just stared at the TV like he was pretending this wasn't happening. My sister's husband shifted uncomfortably but didn't speak either. Coward, like always. I picked up Mila. She didn't cry. She didn't ask questions. She just leaned into me, doll still in her hand like she wasn't sure if she should throw it away or not. Nobody followed us out. Nobody stopped us. And not one of them asked why I was taking the gifts with me. Back home, I made hot chocolate. We watched her favorite movie. She asked if she could sleep in my bed that night. I said yes. The doll ended up on the kitchen counter, next to a pile of napkins and an empty mug. She never touched it again. That somehow broke me more than if she'd sobbed on the floor. She just let it go. Like even at 3 years old, she understood some things weren't meant to be fixed. For the next 2 days, I didn't answer a single message. Not from my sister, not from my mom, not even the group chat where they pretended none of this happened. But then, my phone buzzed with a message that made me laugh out loud. My sister. "Are you seriously still sulking? The boys are confused. Can you grow up already?" It had a laughing emoji at the end. Like that somehow made it funny. An hour later, another text from my mom. "You embarrass me. In front of everyone. Mila is too young to understand. You're projecting." That one made me grip the counter so hard my knuckles turned white. Then she added, "After all we've done for you." That was the moment I realized, they truly thought they were the victims. On the 3rd day, my dad left a voicemail. His tone was calm, even warm. Said the family was concerned, and he didn't understand why I was being so cold. No mention of Mila. No apology. Just confusion about why the usual pattern had stopped. That's all it ever was, a pattern. I show up. I pay. They take. Repeat. But now, nothing from me. Not a dime. Not a reply. The next day I opened my trunk. All the gifts were still there, perfectly wrapped, untouched. I carried them inside and lined them up along the hallway floor. It looked like a luxury department store exploded in my apartment. Each one had a name. Each one was a receipt for a relationship I'd been trying to buy for years. And standing there, I finally admitted something to myself. I never gave them gifts because I loved them. I gave them gifts because I wanted to be loved back. It was gross but true. So I unwrapped every single present. Then I boxed them back up, this time in plain cardboard, and drove them across town. Some went to a women's shelter. Some to a youth home. Others to a family support center I used to donate to before things got tight. I didn't post about it. Didn't take pictures. I just did it. Quietly. For once. That week, I didn't send my parents their grocery money. Didn't cover the insurance payment for Dad's car. Didn't transfer the $250 I'd been sending my sister every 2 weeks. Just to help out. I hadn't realized how automatic it had become, how they all just expected it. Until it stopped. And that's when the panic kicked in. My mom started calling twice a day. My dad sent short texts asking, "Is everything okay?" My sister messaged me like nothing happened. Said the boys were asking when I was coming over. Then she slid in a casual, "Things are kind of tight since the holidays. Hope we can talk soon." None of them mentioned the doll. None of them mentioned Mila. They just wanted the money to flow again. Then a friend of mine, someone who worked near the pharmacy my mom uses, texted me. She said she saw my mother at the counter arguing over a prescription, asking if she could pay for half now and the rest later. My mom has never lived paycheck to paycheck. She just never lived without me. And I sat there with that text, waiting for guilt. It didn't come. About a week later, my sister showed up on my porch unannounced. No text, no call, just rang the bell like she still had rights. She didn't even say hello. Just crossed her arms and went straight into it. "Mom and Dad are stressed. You've made your point. Can we be done now?" I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Mila was inside coloring. I wasn't about to let this mess near her again. My sister tried to soften her voice. "You're taking this too far, David. It was one moment. You're really going to let the whole family fall apart over a broken toy?" I looked her straight in the eye. It wasn't a toy. It was a message. She opened her mouth, probably ready to deflect like always, but I kept going. "They humiliated my daughter. On purpose. And you laughed." She blinked. The first crack in her smugness. She shifted gears. "Okay, but you didn't have to take back the gifts. That was petty." I smiled. "I didn't take them back. I gave them away. To people who didn't treat my kid like trash." For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. Then she tried the emotional play. Said I was different now. Said I was acting cruel. Said this wasn't the brother she knew. That part made me pause. Because she was right. I wasn't the same. For years I let them take. Let them joke behind my back. Let them shame me for working remote, for being a single dad, for not being man enough to stand up to my ex when she left. They loved mocking me, as long as I still paid the bills. But now, they were scared. Not of losing me. Of losing access. That same night, I got an email from my dad. No greeting, no small talk. Just a forwarded utility bill with the amount circled, $378.45. Final notice. Normally, I'd pay it without thinking. A few taps and their lights stay on. But this time? I just stared at the screen. I didn't reply. I didn't pay it either. The calls kept coming. My sister. My mom. Then back to my dad. They left voicemails like it was a hostage situation. Like their comfort was somehow my responsibility. And still, no one apologized. Not for the doll. Not for Mila. Not for a single word that was said that morning. That silence told me everything I needed to know. Then came the Facebook post. It hit like a backhanded slap. My mom, who still struggles to attach PDFs to emails, somehow figured out how to post a multi-paragraph guilt trip for all of social media to see. No names, of course. Just a long, weepy wall of text about how heartbreaking it is when your own child turns on you after all the sacrifices you made, and how she was now working nights just to afford food. Working nights? A friend texted me a screenshot before I even saw it. The comments were immediate. Church ladies, old neighbors, distant cousins, everyone piling on with, "You deserve better, sweetie." And, "Kids these days have no gratitude." Some even tagged me. One woman I hadn't seen since high school said, "You're still her son, no matter what." But the one that really made my stomach flip? my sister commented. She's always taken advantage of you, Mom. I think she's finally showing her true colors. She. Not. He. They rewrote me out of my own story so easily it was almost elegant. That's when I understood, this wasn't about fixing anything. This was a smear campaign. And it didn't stop there. A coworker forwarded me a message my sister had sent to someone in our company, vague, passive-aggressive concerns about my recent behavior, how I seemed erratic, and that maybe someone should check on me. My mom called a friend of mine from college and told her she was worried about my mental health. They weren't just trying to guilt me into coming back. They were trying to discredit me. And I was ready to ignore all of it. I really was. But then I saw one specific reply in that Facebook thread. Someone asked how little Mila was doing. My mom responded, "We gave her a sweet little doll for Christmas, but she didn't even say thank you. Looks like she's learning from her father." That was it. That was the moment I stopped holding back. I didn't go public. I didn't write my own post. I just sent private messages to a few people who had commented the most. I told them the truth. That I gave my parents $500 to buy gifts for Mila. That my daughter got a broken, one-legged dollar store doll while the other kids unwrapped brand new e-bikes. That my mother said, in front of everyone, "That's what happens when your dad disappoints us." I attached a photo of Mila holding the doll. Her face blank, trying to understand why she wasn't allowed to be happy. I didn't add anything else. The next morning, the post was gone. Deleted without a trace. No follow-up. No apology. Just damage control. 2 days later, a box showed up on my doorstep. No return address. Just Mila's name, written in careful black marker. Inside? An American Girl doll. Still in the packaging. Brand new outfits. The exact one Mila had circled in a catalog weeks before Christmas. There was a note tucked into the box. "We hope you like this one better. Love, Grandma and Grandpa." No sorry. No mention of the other doll. Just a new version of the story they were trying to push. Mila opened it. Smiled. Looked up and said, "She has both her legs this time." Then she ran off to show it to her stuffed animals. And I just sat there, holding the box, realizing. They didn't send it because they were sorry. They sent it because they finally understood they lost control. I didn't respond to the package. No thank you. No message. No pictures of Mila holding it. I didn't even let her call them. I just sat with it, this weird, glossy symbol of guilt wrapped in glittery distraction. Because they thought this fixed it. They thought one expensive doll would erase the fact that they humiliated my kid on Christmas morning. That they tried to paint me as unstable, manipulative. That they called a 3-year-old ungrateful to save face. But what really stuck with me wasn't the doll. It was the shift. Something changed after that. Slowly. Quietly. They stopped asking for things. No more grocery list texts. No more, "Hey, can you spot us until payday?" messages. No more late-night voicemails from my dad about car repairs or bounce checks. It was silent. And for a while I loved it. Until I didn't. Because one night I found myself rereading that card my mom sent with the doll. The one that didn't say sorry. Just, "Hope this one's better." And I hated how often I checked my phone afterward. Waiting for, what? More shame? A better apology? Another passive-aggressive post? That's when I realized the power had flipped. For years, they fed on my guilt. Now, I was feeding on their desperation. And that scared me. Because that's who they were, people who took joy in control. In guilt. In making you dance to earn your place. And now I was doing it in reverse. I caught myself thinking things like, "I hope they feel it." Every time I paid my own bills in full. Every time I didn't send money. Every time I posted a picture of Mila laughing at a park or painting her face at a birthday party. It wasn't about joy anymore. It was about proving a point. And that wasn't me. That was them. So I stopped. I stopped waiting for them to mess up again so I could weaponize it. I stopped rereading the apology texts I didn't trust. I stopped checking the group chat I never replied to anyway. Instead, I focused on us. Me and Mila. We made pancakes every Sunday. Started planting flowers on the balcony. Read books at night, and made up new endings when the real ones were boring. We built new traditions. Just us. No broken dolls. No emotional ransom. No strings. And slowly, I felt the anger dull. Not gone, but manageable. They still call sometimes. They still ask if we're coming by. If they can see her. And I say, not yet. Not now. Maybe one day. But here's the difference. I don't feel like I owe them anything anymore. Not time. Not money. Not my daughter's joy. Not even an explanation. Then came Easter. They tried again, photos of egg hunts, a place set at the table with Mila's name written in glitter glue, a message from my dad saying, "The porch swing misses you too." I didn't reply. Didn't go. And for once, I didn't feel the familiar ache of guilt in my chest. Just a quiet, steady kind of peace. But then something happened that surprised me. The calls stopped. The texts stopped. Even the guilt trips dried up. Weeks passed and I realized they weren't trying anymore. And that silence, the one I used to crave like air, started to feel strange. Not bad, just empty. Like waiting for a wave that never comes. And it hit me. I didn't miss them. I missed the version of them I kept hoping they'd become. The family I invented every time I gave them another chance. The people I imagined they'd be if I just gave enough, forgave enough, loved enough. But they never were. They weren't interested in being safe people. They were interested in being obeyed. So I chose something else. I chose peace. Not the kind you buy with silence and self-betrayal, but the kind you build. From scratch. Mila and I created our own holidays. Our own rhythms. We started a little tradition of writing kind notes to strangers and leaving them at coffee shops. We adopted a rescue cat named Luna. She's missing half an ear but purrs like an engine when Mila reads to her. We started living a life where love isn't tied to guilt. Where birthdays aren't IOUs and forgiveness isn't forced by family roles. The last time my sister texted, she said, "We're all hurting. I just wish you'd stop acting like you're the only one who's ever been disappointed." I didn't answer. Because here's the truth. I'm done bending to people who only want me when I'm useful. I'm done letting them shape Mila's world into one where cruelty is dressed as family tradition. And I'm done apologizing for protecting my child from people who never learned how to protect me. They wanted control. They wanted silence. They wanted the old me. But they lost all of that the moment my daughter held a broken doll. And I finally chose her over their comfort. We're not going back. Not ever. And for the first time in my life, that feels like freedom.